Hey guys, you're watching BTech. I'm Basil. This is the LG V30. This is the iPhone 8 Plus. These are two of the best smartphones when it comes to video on the market. Now, I've already done a few side-by-sides when it comes to the video that these two output, but I haven't compared the phones. So that's what this video is all about. But before I do jump into the head-to-head comparison, if you're not already subscribed to the channel, subscribe. It's how you stay on top of everything that we do. Right, let's get to it. LG versus Apple. From the front, the iPhone 8 Plus is bigger, in spite of the fact it technically has a smaller screen, 5.5 inches, and that is by comparison to the screen on the V30, which is swipe up, tap, 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 6 inches. Now, it's not exactly the same like for like because of the different aspect ratio, but you can still be guaranteed that the screen to body ratio on the LG is far, far superior when it comes to how much bang you get for your buck. You can also see that there is a lot more bezel going on, but that bezel comes with some advantages. For many, you'll prefer a front fingerprint scanner. That means you can unlock easily when it is on a table on the iPhone. It also has stereo speakers, and amongst the loudest stereo speakers on the market. You've also got, if I flip it around, a fingerprint scanner around the back of the LG, and both have glass backs that support wireless charging. The wireless charging works exceptionally across both, and I use it day in, day out. Now that Apple is bringing it into iPhones, I reckon you're going to see a lot more cheese standard wireless chargers that support both of these. There are dual cameras around the back of both. The iPhone has two 12 megapixel snappers, and that means you've got one regular field of view, it's f1.8, and it has image stabilization. The secondary camera is a 2x zoom f2.8, no image stabilization. That's by comparison to the LG V30, which has a wide angle 13 megapixel camera and a regular field of view 16 megapixel camera with an f1.6 lens. So both of these phones offer something very, very different. From a practicality point of view, I prefer the LG because the wide angle comes in handy more often, but from an effect point of view, the portrait lighting feature that you get on the new iPhone is available because of that secondary 2x zoom lens. So the design's really, I prefer the LG V30 in almost every respect. You get better screen to body ratio. It feels excellent in the hand. There's a slight curve around the back, so it feels more ergonomic. It's also significantly lighter. I'd say from a on the surface point of view, like I said, the fingerprint scanner being on the iPhone's front is good, but when in hand, that LG's fingerprint scanner is preferable. So yeah, it's going to come down to what you want. Both are water resistant. The IP67 iPhone is slightly less water resistant than the IP68 LG V30. And I also prefer the colors that the LG V30 comes in. This is the silver variant. It's available in a lavender variant as well as a black variant and a blue variant, which is very similar to the black variant, very, very dark. One criticism against the LG V30, which I can't really wage against the iPhone too fairly, is that it feels a little bit more hollow. Generally, when you have the glass plate around the back, it's going to feel more hollow than a metal unibody. And indeed, the iPhone 7 Plus actually feels more solid in the hand than the iPhone 8 Plus. But the LG V30, because it's that bit lighter, has the potential to feel that little bit cheaper, but it certainly doesn't look it. It looks fantastic. Specifics, 202 grams for the iPhone versus 158 grams for the LG V30. So two beautiful phones, smaller hands will, in spite of the larger screen on the V30, prefer the V30 over the iPhone. As far as the screens go, it's a POLED display versus an IPS LCD display. Now, Apple integrates something in their new display called True Tone. I've actually got night shift switched on, so that's why it was veering towards the yellow tones. You've got something called True Tone, which I can switch on, which reads the ambient light of a room, and it adjusts the screen accordingly. This works really nicely, and in fact I will say this is the best iPhone screen I've seen to date in terms of the colors have more pop, more punch, feel less flat, and the blacks actually even feel deeper, though obviously not AMOLED black. POLEDs, well, the LG V30 POLED came under a little bit of fire for not producing 100% pure black in its blacks, but I think this is a beautiful, beautiful screen. Both are, but the V30 kind of wipes the floor with the iPhone when it comes to punch, when it comes to pop, but specifically also when it comes to resolution. The Quad HD display delivers 537 pixels per inch versus 401 on the iPhone. Still, the iPhone gets very, very nice and bright. Both support HDR video as well, so you're going to have a really great viewing experience whatever happens. Moving on to the cameras, and you can see the 7 megapixel front camera on the iPhone wipes the floor with that of the LG V30. If I was to take a look at the regular picture, you can see it's super mottled. My face looks soft, but not even in a flattering way, there isn't enough detail on here way. Using the front flash helps, but it doesn't help a huge amount. By contrast, the iPhone 8 Plus's front flash is pretty strong. Like, that gets a lot of detail in my face, too much maybe, and with just the same lighting that produced that really mottled effect on the V30's front camera, you've got a pretty passable picture. As for the main cameras, the shooting modes on the LG V30 are far superior to those on the iPhone. You can shoot manual video, manual photo. The cool Cine video mode is something that we've spoken a fair bit about, which allows something called point zoom, so you can zoom in on a certain part of your screen very nice and smoothly, where you can also grade your photos, videos as well. You can tap on modes and see the extent of shooting modes is really great. Some a little bit superfluous, but generally I like having that flexibility, and the manual control out of the box is amongst the best that you can get on any smartphone. And you can see the image stabilization working beautifully right there. This thing also shoots RAW out of the box, which is fantastic, as too does the iPhone, which is a neat addition Apple introduced a couple of gens ago. As for the iPhone though, with regards to key shooting modes, you got photo, you got video, you got slow-mo, and you got time-lapse. No manual photo. You do, however, have portrait mode, which is good, and this incorporates a new studio portrait lighting mode, or portrait lighting mode. Studio light is probably the only portrait lighting feature that I'd actually use in the real world. All the rest just are a little bit unnecessary. You can also shoot a square image for Instagram and a panorama, but really it is the portrait lighting and the photo mode, as well as the slow-mo mode, obviously, with that incredible 640 frames per second video that you will be likely using. When it comes to image quality, many people will prefer the more poppy, contrasty images that you get on the LG V30. We're going to have to do a deep dive camera comparison to really be able to suss out the differences. When it comes to the pictures that we took, they were very comparable. When I'm looking at the object in real life, just based on what's going on the screen, I'd say that the LG does win out when it comes to not subduing the scenery that much, but the color balance of the iPhone might be a little bit more on point. And we can also say that in low light, the LG V30 does an excellent job of keeping everything nice and noise free. LG needs to be commended for revising their processing, because the old LG G6 processed out images to death. The iPhone, by comparison, doesn't process out that much, but iPhones never really have. Instead, you have a slightly more exposed shot, and both look very good. Again, I'd say the LG V30 maybe represented the scene in terms of punch and pop a little bit more accurately, but the iPhone maybe got the white balance a little bit better. If you notice the microphone changing slightly, it's actually because I'm looking at that speaker right now to try and gauge. You can really never gauge going by two different screens and screen technologies, which is what I'm doing, but you guys will be seeing both these photos on screen, so let me know what you prefer in the comments section below. Taking a closer look at this picture, it's not that I'm obsessed with my face, I want to show you how studio lighting works on here. So I've already said that the iPhone can, using its second camera, blur out the background, but it can also change the kind of lighting you have on your foreground object, having differentiated. Now, the last two options, stage light and stage light mono, are just a little bit ridiculous, to be honest. I've never found a scenario in my 48 hours, or almost 3 days actually, with this phone that make it look good. But the first two are really helpful: contour and studio lighting. You can see that's the default. I look quite flat. change it, it brightens up my face with a nice full flash, and then contour lighting, it gives it a little bit of kind of gravitas, some drama and contrast. That, I would say, is a key point of differentiation for the camera. The LG V30 will give you all the manual modes so you can control everything. Really long shutter speeds, looks excellent when you get light trails and stuff on here, whereas the iPhone will give you that out of the box snap and shoot mode that the V30 will, plus portrait mode. Right, what about the power inside? You've got a Snapdragon 835 in the LG V30 and it performs excellently. 4 GB of RAM is also very good. In fact, more than on the iPhone, but the iPhone does benchmark better. The App Store on here is superb. It's able to just churn through the most incredible games around, and the new AR Focus AR kit from Apple ensures that AR games are also exceptional. Honestly though, the games I tend to play are available on Android and iOS, Injustice 2, etc., and they will give you very comparable experiences. Many of you guys will actually prefer the fact you're just getting a much fuller display on the LG V30 by comparison to the iPhone. But many other people will like the fact you get the stereo speakers on the iPhone, which sound really loud. That is one area that iPhone just wipes the floor with almost every other phone around. The speakers are excellent. As far as the battery life goes, you've got a 3300 milliamp cell in the LG V30, whereas the iPhone has less than 2900 milliamps under the hood. The LG V30 has got a bigger screen. I found battery life was quite comparable across both in my time with them. They will both get you through a full day. Both support wireless charging, so if you do have a wireless charger, definitely put one at your office, put one at your home, and just leave these devices down on them, and it will save your bacon should you run dry on either accounts. As for storage, 64 GB on the LG V30. There's a Pro version available with 128 GB of storage, and the iPhone 8 Plus is available with either 64 or 256 gigs of storage. I really wish that the iPhone was available in a middling price point with 128 gig of storage, because that's the one I would have gone for example, and you would be paying hopefully a fair bit less than the 256 gig one, because the iPhone's pretty much double the price of the LG V30. Okay, not quite double, but it's, you know, a way more expensive phone, over £800, whereas the V30 is retailing, I think, for around 600 euros or thereabouts. So yeah, you're saving a fair bit with the V30 if you're looking at storage, given the fact you can expand via micro SD card, which is something that the iPhone can't do. If I was going to buy one of these phones right now, I would probably pick up the LG V30, like I said, just for that value for money and for that bang for buck in terms of camera options as well. You'll see in the video comparisons that I've done, it's comparable. The LG V30's microphone is also much more sensitive. The iPhone's is super quiet. In low light, the V30 also is a little bit quicker to focus. The laser autofocus smashes it. In the 60 frames per second 4K, the iPhone is unbeatable. It looks really good. But with the rear camera, as soon as you start flipping to that second lens, everything just starts to crumble a little bit in low light. The wide angle is more versatile on the LG V30 as well. So pay less and potentially get more. Maybe get more if you're already in the Android ecosystem. For anyone already sold into iPhone who can't wait for an iPhone X, the iPhone 8 Plus is going to be the only real option available. It is easily the best iPhone to date. But the question is, will it make you part with your cash? Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, click that thumbs up button, like the channel, subscribe. That's how you're going to stay on top of everything we do. And comment below, which one won for you? Was it LG? Was it Apple? The choice is yours. Thanks for watching BTech.